getting started. Chair will call to order the regular monthly meeting of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Lake Barrington. It is Tuesday, November 7, 2023, and it is 7:04 p.m. I'll ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Trustee Burke.
Here.
Trustee Hayes.
Here.
Trustee Perkins.
Here.
Trustee Schaller.
Here.
Trustee Schallemoser.
Here.
Trustee Van Ryn. Here. President Richardson.
Yes, ma'am, here. Would you all rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to our flag? Given the state of the world, those words mean a lot more to me than they did 5 years ago. And I'm a conservative Republican who's always loved this stuff. We live in a world gone mad, but not here in Lake Barrington, thankfully. Agenda item 4 tonight is approval of the minutes of the Board of Trustees meeting from October 3, 2023. Are there any questions, edits, comments for the administrator or clerk on the minutes? There being none, Chair would like a motion to approve Agenda Item 4A, minutes of the Board of Trustees meeting October 3, 2023. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
By Trustee Van Ryn, thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
By Trustee Perkins, thank you both. Clerk will please call the roll.
Trustee Burke.
Yes.
Trustee Hayes.
Yes.
Trustee Perkins.
Yes.
Trustee Schaller.
Abstain, I was not attending the meeting.
Trustee Schallemoser.
Yes.
Trustee Van Ryn. Yes. President Richardson.
Yes. Chair will ask unanimous consent that the record remain open for a period of 5 calendar days for purposes of any necessary technical and conforming amendments. Without objection, so ordered. Agenda Item 5, President's Remarks. We have a lot of company tonight. It's great. We never get company. At least not company that's happy. So I see lots of smiling faces. We're going to try to go in some order of discipline here, but bear with us. That way none of you have to stay to the end. We'll move the related agenda items that you are interested in up accordingly, okay? And I'll ask the clerk and the village attorney to make sure I don't misstate, as is often my way. First, Tom Hills, would you like to come up and talk about your plans for the property at 22073 North Pepper? And let me see if Trustee Burke would like to introduce or make any comments.
No, I'll reserve my comments till after he's introduced himself.
Thank you. And hit the red button in the button in the middle so that you...
Okay, hi everyone, how are you? So I'm purchasing the 22073 building on Pepper Road. It's an investment for me. Nothing's going to change there, and it's just, that's not a whole lot to say more than that, but there's Agility Junkies is one of the tenants there, which is why I'm here tonight, and they have a dog business there, and there's a special purpose permit that needs to be put in place before I close on the building tomorrow, so as long as that's approved, I can move forward.
I'm sorry?
It's item D, under the consent agenda.
Okay. This is under the consent agenda, and we can pull it out in a moment. We have a custom of going around the dais so that people can ask questions or offer comments. So I'll begin on my right with Trustee Schaller, who is joining us digitally tonight.
Thank you very much, President Richardson. I see anyone who wants to invest in our industrial area with gratitude and appreciation. And we can wish that it's a good investment and we'll be with us for a long time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Perkins.
Thank you. Yes, so this is, you said an agility, dog agility, canine agility type business? And do you know what, that's not your business, right?
No, they're a tenant.
Oh. Oh, great.
Thank you for coming.
That's amazing.
We've been in Lake Barrington for 23 years now.
Okay, great. That's amazing. That's exciting. I like it.
Yeah, she has a wonderful business, and I just wanted to make sure that it all stays the same.
Oh,
and
perfect.
everything just continues on.
Yeah, okay. It's been there.
For 23 years. The last
Okay.
time we were here was in 2000, when we were explaining what dog agility was to everyone.
Okay. Okay. I must have missed that one. Okay, perfect. That's wonderful. Congratulations. Thank you.
Trustee Hayes.
Congratulations tomorrow when you close.
Yeah, thank you.
And it sounds like you're happy with your new, soon-to-be landlord, so that's great. And welcome to Lake Barrington.
Thank you.
Trustee Schallmoser.
No questions. Thank you for your interest. Welcome to the village.
Trustee Van Ryn.
I also have no questions, but again, congratulate you and thank you.
Trustee Burke.
Hi, Tom. Nice to meet you. And I do chair our Economic Development Committee group here and make it my habit and make it my responsibility to get out and to meet as many people who do business in our little village here. We love our local businesses. We do a lot with them to support them. And most recently, we helped all of our restaurants get through COVID with grant money, and we did a lot of things. So we're very hands-on. Because we're smaller, we can be very personal and very hands-on, and we really do try to get to know everybody and encourage you, and anybody who owns a business, owns a building, to make sure you seek us out if you ever have questions or concerns about anything that's going on, if you think we can be helpful, if you think we can improve something. We're constantly working on our business processes and trying to get better at being easy to do business with. So hopefully that's your experience, and that continues. So congratulations and welcome to the business world here in Lake Barrington. Look forward to working with you.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Tom, how long have you been doing the property thing?
So I invest in real estate all over the country, but I live here in Barrington. I grew up here. And,
Are you a Bronco?
Yes, went to Barrington High School, raised my family here, and yes, great way to reinvest back in the community. So very, very happy that I was able to negotiate a deal to have an asset here in Barrington.
Well, given your background, we are delighted with your confidence in us, and I'm sure you and Trustee Burke will spend some quality time because we have lots of other parcels we would love you to consider as well. If I've learned anything in politics, it's upsell all the time. So I'm going to, right now, as a courtesy to you, pull agenda item 7D off of the consent agenda, and we can consider it now separately. Consideration of an ordinance approving the assignment to and assumption by Porter Pepper LLC of all rights, duties, and obligations under that certain special use granted by the Village of Lake Barrington, Ordinance 2000-0-12, to permit a dog training facility on the property at 22073 North Pepper Road, Lake Barrington, Illinois. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
By Trustee Burke, may I please have a second?
Second.
By Trustee Schallmoser. Thank you both, gentlemen. Clerk will please call the roll.
Trustee Burke.
Yes.
Trustee Hayes.
Yes.
Trustee Perkins.
Yes.
Trustee Schaller.
Yes.
Trustee Schallmoser.
Yes.
Trustee Van Ryn.
Yes.
President Richardson.
Yes. You are in business. Bon chance. And
Thank you.
don't be a stranger.
Appreciate it.
Thank you much. Okay. Agenda item 2 tonight are our friend Lauren DeJesu about community gardens. Our former colleague and longtime dear friend, Lauren DeJesu.
Do I have to push a button or something?
Nope, it's already on.
I'm not used to this side, so. Do you need my address and all that? Do you also?
Oh, ma'am, we know where you live.
I'm just here to thank the board because you all paid some money for our community garden this year, and 27 gardeners, thank you. So I've been sort of the coordinator. I'm the nag who tells them to keep their lots weeded and so forth. Lake Barrington, I've written this down so I don't forget, started in about 2014 or 15 is the first time we started gardening. We had a full 24 plots, 24 people using them, and they all walked, not all, but most walked away because they got weeds and it was damp and wet, so they had a lot of problems. And so the village put money in and put money in, and people kept walking away, and it kind of sat with only about 8 or 9 people gardening. So, but now we have a waiting list, because ever since COVID especially, I think people needed something to do. So now we had a soil analysis done, It's good soil, it was dense, it needed compost, it needed organic matter. We've done that. Slowly, it's getting better. More and more people are coming, so we have 19 of the 24 plots are being used. One is a pile for weeds and rotten vegetables. And the other one, Citizens for Conservation had a plot for a while, but it got away from it. It's weeds and thistles, and so we have the 5 plots that are wet, and the village paid to have a drainage system put in along that fence this spring, and we're waiting to see what happens. So it's hard because some years it's been dry and other years it's so wet it's constant standing water. And on the aerial maps, when this was first decided, for some reason nobody noticed the area there that was a wetland. Apparently that section of the garden. Oddly enough, it's the uphill side, but so far we're just not using those. The biggest problem we have is weed control. The first year when some people planted and then walked away expecting to come back in August and pick all the vegetables, and the weeds were literally higher than the 6-foot fence. But it has been a real boon for the people who are there right now. Half of the gardeners are from Lake Barrington shores. Others are coming from larger plots where we've been battling not only deer, but shade. So it's fenced, it's full sun, stuff grows like mad. We've been adding more compost, and thank you to the village. You paid for the compost, and we have a landscaper who take that pile of weeds and dead plants that's probably that high and moved it, took it away. We can't reuse it, it makes great compost, but it's filled with diseased plants, and the disease lives in the soil, so we can't reuse that. So we get fresh compost every year. We've grown, let's see, tomatoes, carrots, cucumbers, lettuce, Swiss chard, peppers, hot and mild, melons, pumpkins, corn, okra, beets, onions, kale, cabbage, squash, zucchini, yellow squash, acorn squash, butternut, Brussels sprouts, radishes, string beans, peas, asparagus, garlic, you name it, rhubarb. We used to have it all tilled, so couldn't put anything that was a perennial, but now we're not tilling. Because as our former village clerk, Lisa, read in a book someplace years ago that the Indians laughed at the settlers because they looked at them tilling the soil and said, "You're using the wrong side of the soil," the Indians would say. So we thought, well, we always till. Well, we don't anymore. So people do take care of their plots. They keep them weeded, they grow them, they clean them up. We also grew huge sunflowers and zinnias, sunflowers 12, 14 feet high. Zinnias, the soil's been very, very good. We actually had the biggest tomato contest this year. We had enormous tomatoes, and the biggest one was 2 pounds, 6 ounces, which was pretty good. And then one of them had the biggest beet we've ever seen, and it was 4.5 pounds. Big as your head. But we also this year, although we've been protected by the deer, we really haven't had rabbits or any problems until this year. We have mice and voles. So you take a beet this big and the whole top is eaten, or there's a big hole in it. So we've been trying to figure out what we're going to do about that, short of having a resident cat live in the garden. And I'm not kidding, I'm serious about it. But I just wanted to say several of our gardeners also have donated well over 200 pounds of produce to Cuba Township, St. Anne's. One of the gardeners couldn't come, and he had about 30 tomato plants, so asked someone else to take them and do what they'd like, and they donated them to a veterans group, and I don't know exactly where it was. But everybody is so grateful for the produce that we get and use and can and freeze, but also the people who are so happy to get our excess. And Cuba Township was thrilled to get even the big zucchinis. But tomatoes, beets, carrots, cucumbers, squash, we've given all of that to the pantries. I think last year it was, the one lady was collecting stuff. Our people haven't been weighing and checking how much they've given. But last year, Sue Willoughby said she estimated close to 500 pounds of beets. And of course, one beet can be a big beet. But we want to assure you your money's being put to very good use, and people love it. I've had comments that say, "This is my sanity saver." This is my lifesaver, my happy place, my place of serenity, the place I come to relax. So it's been the best thing I think the village has done in a long time. We have, as I say, a waiting list. We have people who are just can't wait to come back, some that have realized how much work it is. And I've got to ask myself why I do this, because I've done it every year. I have an acre I maintain, plus I have that, but it's okay. Keeps me out of the bars sometimes. Sort of. Sometimes not.
Well, Lauren, I can't let you go without giving context. When I became a trustee, you were serving on this board, and you were a great mentor and teacher for me. And your work for sustainability and environmental things, especially with the trees, we passed one of the toughest tree preservation ordinances right after I became mayor.
I was the queen of that committee.
Yeah, and it gets done because people care and drill down into it, and the good deeds here, I think, have never been more important given the state of the world. I'm beginning to really appreciate that anytime we're nice to somebody else, we're fighting back against the ugliness, and so giving fresh vegetables to those who have less is utterly in context with your character, which I know quite well, but it's probably never been more valuable to the community and the country, and I want to thank you for what have been decades of service.
I'm old.
Which is astonishing, because I know you started when you were 2.
That's right.
And so I think all of us here want to make sure that you know how valued you are and how much these efforts mean to all of us. We're grateful for your leadership.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm lucky to live here. And as you said earlier, when look around what's happening in the world, and we think we're in this quiet little sweet town, we're very fortunate. So I don't want to leave, too, without mentioning something. Earl Carpenter was a gardener also up until recently. And God bless him, he would come in with bring his tractor on this trailer. We're still not sure how it was working. But he'd get the tractor in there and he'd keep the weeds mowed. And it really helped. But now he can't do that, and we can't get in there with anything. So we're trying to figure how we're going to pay to have somebody come and weed whack. But these are all little details we need to iron out. I think the village might have a budget for the garden this year. I'm not sure, but I think there's a budget. So, but we'll look into that.
We are just starting to work on budget right now, so
Yeah.
I will keep you posted.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Thanks for your time.
Well, thank you, Lauren.
Thanks,
Thank you. Okay, another great and longtime Lake Barrington resident, Nick Sauer, is here. Nick, why don't you come up?
Thank you, President Richardson. I just had to thank former trustee DeJesu and let her know that she and I stay busy, but we still run into each other at those bars she says she has to not go into. So, at the dais, you'll all have a copy of a letter from Trustee Schaller and myself, as well as a poster. The Cuba Township Food Pantry that Lauren was actually discussing on fresh vegetables reached out to me and asked if I would help do a food drive over the Thanksgiving and Christmas holiday in Lake Barrington Shores, which is where I've lived for 12 years. And I said, sure, let me give it some thought. And the more I thought about it, I said, why should we just limit it to Lake Barrington Shores? Let's just do it village-wide. So we are going to have, and I'm not coming before the board asking for money. I'm not asking for the village to do anything. I just wanted to let all of our elected officials know that we're going to be having a village-wide food drive in case you get questions. There's a letter from both John and I co-chairing the event. We've put a letter in, and Santa has agreed to show up at the end of our food drive, so you can let all the children in the community know. And one of our great village partners in the Kelsey Roadhouse is going to have that special event, as well as our fire department will be there to fill a truck with food. So the food drive will start on the 11th of this month, so Saturday. It'll run for 5 weeks. Hopefully we'll have businesses that'll have boxes in their storefronts, and people can put in, there's a laundry list of different items that are on our website that we created, and fresh vegetables, I'll let Lauren run, but we're going to do everything from canned goods to non-perishables. And what a lot of people don't know is SNAP doesn't cover, the state assistance doesn't cover things like toilet paper, paper towels, and Kleenex. Those are incredibly needed. And so those would be a big thing for people to donate to. But I just wanted to let you guys know that, and we'll be running this, and...
Nick, is there an option to give money instead if we're, because Lynn's in South Carolina most of the time, and I'm not sure I'll get to Costco to find something. Can I just make a donation?
There is a way to do that.
Is there a portal or something on the...
On the website, there's a sign-up, and actually what we're asking our businesses to do too is to, if they'd be willing to contribute $50 to Cuba Cares, which is a 501c3 nonprofit. They also can supply some of the things that people may not put in the bins, but if you'd like to, $50 is what we're asking if anybody wants to support.
I'm delighted to do so.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's within my allowance amount that I get at home.
Well, thank Lynn.
Are there questions for Nick on this very worthwhile? Trustee Burke?
Yeah, I have a question. See that you're partnering with Kelsey Roadhouse for that event, which is awesome, and they are outstanding. I'm glad that you've met them and you're getting to know them. From the day they walked in here and said they wanted to buy the Kelsey Roadhouse, they said they want to be a partner in this community, and I love to see, and they're doing a bunch of stuff, and they're being successful at what they're doing. So it's good to see that you've partnered with them. For that event itself, I mean, it says Santa will be there, fire trucks, so it's a family event, come
Absolutely.
out, there'll be food and beverage if you want it, that sort of thing too, or how is that working?
We're going to have, we might have cocoa. I know I've talked to the Kelsey Roadhouse, and Santa likes his cocoa, so they said they'd absolutely help with that.
Okay.
But we want to make sure that they're going to make some money.
Right.
So we're going to make sure the kids and everybody can put some food in the truck, go get their photo with Santa, and then their doors are open.
Got it.
We haven't talked any logistics or anything, but we didn't want to put them on the hook for anything. But they have great food.
But I'm saying they'll be open and available, and so with that event, I guess, in terms of saying to all the families out there, bring your family and stay and have some food and some beverage, and, right? 100%. And patronize the Kelsey Roadhouse.
Yeah. And they were 100% instantly all over it.
Yeah.
And they said, this is great, because usually noon to 3 on Saturdays is not the most heavy time.
Right.
But they said about 4 we get really busy, so we'd love to open our doors, and we'll talk more about those specifics with them, but they want to have people drop by.
That's where I usually drop by, because they're more likely to give away free beer during that time than when they're really busy.
Now, you know what, we'll ask for a trustee discount.
Okay. Thank you.
Further questions on this? John Schaller, thank you for your leadership on this. Anything you'd like to add?
No, I want to thank Nick for, it's Nick's idea. I know that the Cuba Township Food Pantry is always in need, as Lauren pointed out, of assistance with feeding the people. Many people in our area that we don't really need it, but there certainly is a need for it. And Nick came up with the idea. I think it's a Thanksgifting is kind of the title for it. I know we're going to get a lot of participation up here at the marketplace at LBS and in the Pepper Park area. And so as much as we can gather, and then the ambition is to, on that Saturday, Barrington Countryside Fire Protection District, Chief Mokisi has pledged to have a Hummer. I mean, they've got a Hummer, and hopefully we can fill that. We also have a fire truck there for the kids to climb around. Santa will be there. And I believe Nick has gotten the veterans of LBS to wear their little red vests and their little pixies and help Santa with the kids at that event. So it's a community event, and I'm proud to be part of it, but I thank Nick for the whole idea and really running with it while I'm sitting here trying to rehab my knee replacement. So he's been doing most of the chasing, but thank you to all, and we certainly hope it's a big success.
And Kevin, if I may,
Please.
you could count on us to help promote it as well. We'll post it on LinkedIn and let our village residents know.
Appreciate that, thank you.
Absolutely.
And John, they're not pixies, they're elves. They're elves.
No, we're elves.
Yes.
Elves, like it.
Yeah.
Not pixies, elves.
I'm more affiliated with gremlins, I think.
Don't give them any water.
Look forward to seeing you on the 16th.
Thank you. Thank you.
Tell your mama and your daddy hello.
I will. They are new residents of Lake Barrington.
We are delighted.
Yep.
And
they are too. Thank you all.
Thanks
Appreciate
much.
your support.
Okay, we are getting through this. Allie, is your sister here?
My sister-in-law.
Sister-in-law, okay. Well,
Husband.
Nicole, come forward, please come forward and introduce yourself, and I'll yield to Trustee Burke for an intro.
Let me introduce her first. She doesn't need to introduce herself. We're really very lucky. I think this started quite a long time ago where Ally actually reached out to say that she had a sister-in-law who was maybe looking to open a retail shop somewhere in the area, and maybe Lake Barrington would be that somewhere. And that started off a whole firestorm of activity between the two of us, many, many emails and phone calls, conversations, and directing her to various places where we thought that her retail shop might work out. So the great news is she has landed in Lake Barrington and will soon be opening, so that's why we wanted her to come introduce herself and tell us about her plans for her new retail shop. So with that, Nicole, welcome. Congratulations. We're really happy to have you here.
Thank you, and thank you for all your help.
You're very welcome.
I'm Nicole Cruz. I'm the owner of Benta Vintage. The E is pronounced like an A. It's fine, it's a thing. It's an online rug shop, so we're very excited to have a brick and mortar boutique. We're currently working on it, renovating that space. We're hoping to be opening the end of the month, hoping and praying. But we are going to be right next to Delmonico's and Dippy Menswear, right off 14 there. And I'm so excited to be in Lake Barrington. I've been shopping in Lake Barrington with my mom for years, and I always thought this would be such a great place if I ever open up my own store. So it's just really great that we're here. Well, we're almost here. There's still a lot of work. Like, I'm covered in primer right now. There's just no getting it all off. Like, it's fine. But just a little bit about my background. I was in supply chain for years with CPG and healthcare, and I enjoyed it. It was fine. I planned for craft. We did like the Kool-Aid production for them. My last job was at Barilla, so I planned pasta and did like all the Italy pastas and sauces and all. It was fun. It was fun, but it left something to be desired. So I really loved design, and I kind of found rugs and vintage rugs, which is my business. I kind of found that through my love of design, and opened up my rug shop online a week before everything shut down in 2020, so it was really good timing. I had 2 young kids, so it was such a good outlet for me during all the craziness, and then everybody was stuck inside and wanted to make their homes beautiful. And our business really took off, very quickly, very surprisingly. So what kind of was this beautiful side business, kind of fun thing that I was doing on the side became really big, really fast, and me and my husband just didn't really know what to do. So I quit my job, did the Benta business full time, and it's been so rewarding. We've been published in a bunch of magazines, Vogue and Dwell, Clever. It's been really fun. And it's just been a dream come true. And we're very excited to have a brick and mortar boutique opening soon. What else did I want to add? Our hours are going to be Thursday and Friday from 10 to 4. I might open Wednesdays, but I don't want to commit to that yet. My daughter's in half-day kindergarten, so it's tough. She's still little, so maybe next year we'll be open Wednesdays, but yeah.
We all remember those days. Nicole, if you're willing, we'll go around the dais so that people can ask questions and offer congratulations. I'll start on my right with Trustee Schaller.
Again, anyone who wants to invest in being part of the village of Lake Barrington, we're extremely appreciative of. It sounds like we got a business going already, and all we can do is try to promote and help you grow that business from the actual retail outlet. But thank you, and the very, very best. Sounds like you got a great background. I used to work with Barilla a little bit myself, so I got to enjoy some pasta. So, but thank you very, very much. Anything to enhance and bring people to our village of Lake Barrington. As Trustee Burke points out, we want to bend over backwards to make sure that everyone that does come here is successful. The last thing you want is someone to not be successful. So anything that I believe our village board can do to make you more successful, I'm pledged, and I'm sure the board is pledged to do. So thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Scheller. Trustee Perkins.
Yes, thank you. Welcome and congratulations. And yes, like Mr. Schaller said, anything we can do to help you out. And be sure to let us know, your exact opening date. And we wish you all the luck. This is the perfect time of year to open.
Right.
The holidays, yeah.
I'm excited.
Everybody needs to get their house decorated, and they also need to get gifts, so.
Right,
It's
yeah,
perfect.
we have both of those things.
It's perfect, yeah. So best of luck.
Thank you.
Trustee Hayes.
Yeah, congratulations to you. It's exciting to see you excited that the last few years have been fun for you, aside the varnish on your hands. But wish you well, and we'll definitely plan on stopping and seeing you one day.
Oh,
So
thank you, that would be great.
Yeah.
Trustee Schallmoser.
Congratulations, very exciting
Thank you.
to see you start this. The foot traffic, how did you decide to finally put, the goal for a brick and mortar?
Other than it being something that's been on my heart for 10 years or more, I think that there's great foot traffic in Lake Barrington with all the shops at Pepper Road. Originally, we had looked to be on Pepper Road. The space that we were looking at was much too large for like the first, I guess, boutique. It was just too big of a space. But I think I'm seeing, being there every day, I'm seeing how much traffic comes in for Elevation Spa and Dibby and Delmonico's, and I'm thinking it's going to be okay. We also have a really big Instagram following, so I'm going to be kind of partnering with friends and influencer people that are local to kind of get the word out.
Well, your neighbor, the men's store, he's a very nice person, and he's
Daniel.
doing in-store events, so you may want to partner with him,
Oh,
collaborate.
that would be great. That's a great idea.
Yep, he's looking to build out the foot traffic.
Okay, I think there'd be like a lot of overlap there too. Because we have,
Yeah.
luxury goods, he has luxury goods.
Yep.
It's good
Yeah.
overlap.
Well, best of luck to you, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for that idea.
Trustee Van Ryn.
Congratulations, Nicole, and thanks for being with us. I'm curious, how do you source your rugs? Where are they from?
That is such a good question, and I meant to talk about this. So I source them from Turkey. So the vintage rugs come from Turkey, and that's like a Turkish rug. Also, Persian rugs come from Turkey, or through Turkey. And then we got some new rugs and vintage rugs from Morocco. Wow. So I worked with a designer to kind of design some new Moroccan rugs, which was really fun. Yeah, and then we have some smaller textiles also coming from Turkey that we have, like pillows and some art, things like that, but yeah.
Sounds amazing.
And then I source the vintage goods locally mostly. So, and I should also mention this, so what started as an online rug shop, we are going to also offer home goods and ceramics and art and a lot of one-of-a-kind found items. So, great for gifts. It's going to be very fun.
And you mentioned being featured in magazines like Vogue. Have you been
Yeah.
featured in Quintessential Barrington or Country yet?
No, I think, I forget, not Quintessential, but one of them reached out, and I said, let me wait till we're closer to getting the shop. But that's on my radar of getting in Quintessential Barrington.
Good, because we have some connections there too, so we can help.
That would be great.
Perfect.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Trustee Burke, anything further?
Well, I think it is really exciting, and, people mentioned Daniel at DB and Domenico's, and when Nicole said she was thinking about Lake Barrington, honestly, that plaza really is what popped up in my head, or someplace off of Pepper Road where there were some places like Kate Marker Home and all that stuff. And what's exciting is I think what you bring is you're really starting to solidify that Lake Barrington's becoming a destination for unique home good items like tattered teaks, like Kate Marker, and people are coming out just to shop for those purposes. excuse me, and that's why I felt really good about where you were going to locate, because it was just enough around the corner where if people are choosing this as a destination. Plus, there is no other place in Lake Barrington where you have more traffic on Northwest Highway in terms of the numbers of cars, of 25,000 cars a day going up and down Northwest Highway, is just good for visibility. You know, you'll be able to see your business from the road, and people will then start to identify it, right, and see that. And lastly, I love that you've reached out to the folks at Domenico's, you've reached out to Daniel, and it's that area has become a community of small business owners that actually do understand that it's in each other's collaborative best interest to drive traffic to that particular retail center. And you all kind of have a similar clientele in my mind. You're attracting, and that's the last point. The last point is that I knew that her business was on brand with our brand. And that was probably the most important thing. You know, when we talk about our brand, we really do try to seek out businesses that are consistent with our brand. We're not interested in businesses that want to just bring people from other parts of the area. We want businesses that first and foremost recognize that Lake Barrington can be a great customer base, and then all others that come with it is great. But we want those amenities to be wanted and needed here. And not just because you're passing by on Route 14. But you'll have the best of every world, and that's what Daniel's figured out, Domenico's is figuring out. They have great, strong clientele right here, but they're building clientele up and down the whole Northwest Highway corridor because of the convenience to get to you. So we've introduced you, Suzanne Core, who I'll talk about a little bit later, from the Barrington Area Chamber of Commerce, and she's somebody you want to get to know. She's working with all of our shops. She's doing a lot of promotion. She will help you if you want to have a grand opening ribbon cutting. So she's the person to talk to, right? And we have a great working relationship with her, and she does with a lot of our area business as well. So a hearty congratulations to you. We know you're going to do well, and I expect you to keep count on how many of these people. I do this with Daniel at DB. Yeah. Is everybody shopping in there? And he's giving me the naughty and nice list all the time, so we'll have to do the same thing. Thanks so much. Anything you'd like to wrap up with? Oh, did you want to?
Yeah, but I just, a couple of my colleagues have mentioned it, but I started my business 17 years ago. You said you have 2 children. You really have 3, because this business is your 3rd child. And you will pour as much of your heart and soul into this business as you do into your family, because it is a part of your family, and it integrates. And it's a great adventure when your kids are little, because mine were little when I started mine. And sleep is overrated, and you're about to embrace that with a vengeance. But your obvious passion for success in following this business is really contagious. It is a wonderful tonic in a world that brings me plenty of sadness to see someone so positive and optimistic and enthusiastic. Don't lose that. That's part of your brand and value proposition. And please tell your husband's family how much we appreciate Allie. She is terrific. Ayúdame con mi español. She's been helping me with my Spanish for some time.
Great.
So she's a very valuable member of our team. Please brag on her at Thanksgiving dinner on behalf of all of us up here, would you please?
I sure will.
Thank you. Best of luck.
Thank you. Thank you for having me tonight.
Okie dokie.
I'll be there to call. Thank you.
I know we have the folks from Good Shepherd, and I promise you're almost next. One other item to go through is the board is in receipt of a copy of a memo the administrator sent to the residents of Wedgewood Trails about the realignment, potentially, of the Lake County Forest Preserve's trailhead across the street evenly from Wedgewood Lane. And the memo provides all the needed background. In it, we talk about 2 possible dates to host a meeting for residents in the community room across the hall. Can I just do a show of hands as to who might be available for each of the 2 possible dates? We'll go with the one that has the most. Don't need to, trying to get all 7 of us together at the same time around the holidays is a fool's errand, so let's not make the perfect the enemy of the good on this one, okay? First one would be, get my calendar up here, Wednesday, December 6th at 7 p.m. How many could do Wednesday, December 6th at 7 PM? Rich, Susie? I'll just go and count my votes.
John is a yes.
John's a yes, okay. Andy? Therese? No? Okay. Peter? And Kevin. So 6 out of 7, okay. And then the other date is Saturday, the 16th of December at 9 a.m. Rich? Okay. Susie?
No, I'm sorry.
That's okay. On Saturday, the 16th, 9 a.m.
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay. Andy? Okay. Therese? Okay. Peter? And John's saying yes? Okay. So it's tied, so Sharon and I will get back, Sharon will get back to everybody. Sharon will get back to everyone with a final date by tomorrow, close of business, okay? Since it's a tie, we're going to see what the residents might opine on in terms of this. The memos, I think, Andy and Sharon and Jim and I have worked real hard on this to be both extraordinarily even-handed in this. It's really a resident decision. We will have a role should they decide they want to do things, but where there's no thumb on the scale for one outcome or the other here. And, you know, I'm so hardwired to write for advocacy, for a point of view, that being objective is a new experience for me. So it's been good that I have great partners, and Mr. Bateman has been very, very helpful in this as well. So we got our dates. Are you good on that? Okay. Now, we have some folks from Good Shepherd. You want to come up, and let me set the table. And I know Plan Commissioner Earl Carpenter is here with a set of concerns that he wants the board to consider. Let me remind everyone who watches online with this, our process for land use matters or for zoning matters, Mr. Bateman, if I get any of this wrong, correct me, but I think I've got it right, is people have an option to come in with a concept to the Board of Trustees, which you chose to exercise. It does not influence the outcome, but it does give you a sense of community perspective because we are all representatives of the community. If a petitioner then seeks a zoning change, the petitioner submits that petition to the village, and it's presented to the Plan Commission. And the purpose of the Plan Commission is to hold public hearings, to seek and identify all relevant facts, to create a record of decision, and then make a decision on that record of decision, and that comes before the village board. We're like an appellate court. We're not a trial court. They're kind of like a trial court, and we're an appellate court. We only affirm or reject their recommendation. So in the interest of time, please feel free to introduce yourselves and maybe give 2 or 3 minutes on this. And then, Earl, if you want to come up and offer some thoughts, I know you've got some convictions on this. We're happy to have you do so as well. So please come forward.
Thank you, President Richardson. Good evening, everyone. My name is Chloe Goodman. I'm the manager of the Health Management Center and Smart Farm at Good Shepherd Hospital. I'm here today with Ted Eckhart, our architect, and Gary Peace, our project manager. Just a brief overview. Smart Farm was created back in 2008 by one of our local Barrington community members. Good Shepherd actually took it on back in 2022, which really got leadership to think, hey, what do we want to do with this farm moving forward? How can we utilize it in a way that's meaningful? And really what it came down to is leadership saw an opportunity to expand our current 2-acre farm to about 10 to 15 acres in the next 3 to 5 years, moving it over to a 30-acre plot that Good Shepherd already owns. So really why we're here today is to get the permission to build some infrastructure to support the Smart Farm expansion and operations. So wash pack barn and some hoop houses to really support that work. I want to be mindful of time here just to give, that was a quick introduction or overview of what we're doing here.
As we mentioned before the meeting, you don't need to represent the entire thing. That was the job of the Plan Commission, to hear that presentation, to ask questions and assemble data. But I think for purposes of courtesy for the board, just give us a 2 to 3 minute refresh on it, okay? Gentlemen, either one of you. Fine, thank you.
Hi, I'm Ted. we are located both in Lake Barrington and in the county. Our entire plan. Our wash pack building, which is one where the vegetables come in from the fields, they have these special brushing machines, and there's a big cooler in there, about 27 feet long cooler, and the vegetables get washed in that building. They go into the cooler, and then when they go out the other door, so there's one door in, one door out. It's the primary building that's located, if you know the property, where they have the community farm that sits about right there. Going to the south, we have two more hoop buildings, which are basically the staple of all growing. You've seen them. They're basically kits. You order them from a manufacturer. We're looking at an Amish group that make these things and ship them out, and typically farmers build them themselves. We have two kinds of hoops. One is a propagation building where the ground inside is gravel and you can roll carts around and they put seedlings in. And then the other one, you actually till the land inside and you put these little seedlings into the ground. And that's how they start before they move out into the fields. One of the issues at the Plan Commission meeting, which we listened to and we were sympathetic, is there was a concern that we might, because of the advance of this program, we might make the parking worse over at the hospital. We understand that the hospital, everybody wants to go in the front door and parking gets tight and it can be a problem. Our location of the farm is located all the way to the east and it's still 500 feet away from 22, but there's the farm buildings there, Art in the Barn, we all know those buildings. So we asked our farmer, Chris, in our presentation, well, what do you think the most number of people will be there working for you? He said in 5 years we might have 10 employees. So 10 cars can easily be absorbed over in the farm area and not impact any of the patient parking. And that is the hospital's commitment for that. Beyond that, we had a unanimous vote to approve the program, and we're very excited. And the $94 question, when are we starting? As soon as we can. Thank you.
Thank you. We're not here to relitigate. That's the Plan Commission's job, and they've done their job. We're here to affirm or deny the petition at this time. But if anybody has a question that's relevant as to the record of decision that was assembled associated with Good Shepherd's testimony, it's a great time to ask. If not, Earl, would you like to come forward and give any concerns? Earl Carpenter is a longtime member of our Plan Commission and a longtime friend and a longtime resident of Lake Barrington, and a neighbor of former administrator Karen Dalton Lang.
Yeah. First of all, I didn't expect to be there. I was going to sit in the back, which is unusual because I yell out from out there. But my biggest concern is the traffic on 22. I think the officers know how much traffic goes up and down that road. The use of trucks by these vegetable people, tractors, et cetera, are going to have to go out on 22, which, Lord help us if it's at business hours. I think it's a problem that can be solved, and as I worked it out in my mind, I believe there is plenty of room behind Good Shepherd to create a traffic roadway. I don't know how they want to do it. I don't intend to, force them to do anything at all. But I think by putting all their businesses in the background rather than up on 22, I think that's the critical thing that I see. Because what they will do to traffic with slow items like tractors and stuff, their trucks have to go back and forth to the sheds that they asked for, and there's plenty of time to get this thing done and keep out of the way of the public, keep our way out of the patients, the fire trucks, the ambulances that come in, will all be problems for this area. So that's my concern. That's why I voted the way I did.
Thank you. For the record, Earl played, I thought, one of the most instrumental roles in assuring that the appearance and layout of Speedway years ago was done in a way that was recognized around the state in the Midwest as being one of the finest. I never got to tell you, but years later, they were owned at the time by Marathon Oil, and I met the CEO of Marathon Oil in Washington. And the project manager for this, Andy will remember her, Cheryl Jackson. And she had worked for him when he was a young vice president years ago, so it was kind of a love fest. And he said to me, "You're the guy? That's the most expensive station we ever built." And I said, "That was our goal." So Earl, thank you for your time and for coming up.
Thank you. Thank you.
Are there questions from the board? If not, we'll go to agenda item 13A. Mr. Bateman, anything you'd like to add from recollection of the hearing? And please turn on the mic and...
Hearing, I believe that your long-term goal is not going to be to maintain the smart farm at its present location, only for a limited period of time until you get this part of the campus and the back acreage going. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, okay. So they're not going to be there where Smart Farm was traditionally by the not-for-profit. They're going to be tucked back into the open field at the back and into the...
Yes, so just to clarify, then there wouldn't be any tractors on 22 because the structures are right next to, more south from where the new land would be, so we'd be able to go right back to the land, the 30 acres itself, so we wouldn't be impeding on traffic there.
Okay.
Thank you. Does the administrator have any comments that she'd like to make for the board's benefit?
Not at this time.
Thank you. Then, in calling the question, Chair would like a motion to approve ordinance number 2023-0-29, an ordinance granting zoning variations, Advocate Good Shepherd Hospital, Smart Farm, 450 West Highway 22. Is there a motion, please?
So moved.
By Trustee Perkins. Is there a second?
Second.
By Trustee Burke. I will ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Trustee Burke.
Yes.
Trustee Hayes.
Yes.
Trustee Perkins. Yes. Trustee Schaller.
Yes.
Trustee Schalmoser.
Yes.
Trustee Van Ryn.
Yes.
President Richardson.
Earl, we have been friends almost 30 years, and I've never parted company with you, and so it's with a heavy heart that I vote in the other direction from you. But I want you to know that in so doing, we respect immensely your contributions to this community. And I'm sorry on this one instance we may sit in different bleachers. You're wearing Clemson and I'm wearing Notre Dame, but you matter deeply to this board. You've done a brilliant job on the commission, and I'm sorry that in this case, we seem to come to different conclusions. Chair votes aye. Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you. Please say hello to Karen for us. Okay, agenda item 6. My goodness, 8 o'clock and we're only on agenda item 6. Yeah, this is the first opportunity in the agenda for the public to address the village board on 9 agenda items. Does anyone seek recognition for that purpose? No one is seeking such recognition, so we can move to agenda item 7A. And these are matters we discussed in the committee of the whole. Consideration of an ordinance amending the Village of Lake Barrington Code, job descriptions relative to the village treasurer and accountant. B, approval of an extension of employee leasing agreement with GovTemps USA LLC through January, that's 7A. 7B is tabled. 7C has already been dispatched. So we are...
We have not done that. That would be a consent item.
I'm sorry, thank you. got confused. Let me start again. 7A, consideration of an ordinance amending the Village of Lake Barrington Village Code, job descriptions relative to the village treasurer and accountant. C, consideration of an ordinance amending Chapter 6, municipal officers and employees of Title I of the Village of Lake Barrington Village Code, Section 1-6-2, bond requirements. Thank you, Jim. D, we have dispatched previously. E, aerator towers clean and repair quotes. F, consideration of awarding a contract to Landmark Roofing Incorporated of St. Charles, Illinois in the amount of $31,910.75 for the roof replacement at the water plant down on Kelsey Road. So Chair would like a motion to consider in block agenda items, don't let me mess this up, 7A, 7C, 7E, and 7F. Is that correct? Because we did B and D separately.
Correct.
Okay. May I have that motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Trustee Perkins. May I have a second?
Second.
By Trustee Van Ryan. Thank you both very much.
Trustee Burke.
Yes.
Trustee Hayes.
Yes.
Trustee Perkins.
Yes.
Trustee Schaller.
Yes.
Trustee Schalmoser.
Yes.
Trustee Van Ryan.
Yes.
President Richardson.
Yes, thank you. Agenda item 8, the treasurer's report. Don't get up. Just turn on your microphone.
Thank you very much for that courtesy, that accommodation, whatever the word is. Okay, I will start with 8A, and basically I'm just asking for direction from the board to sign an updated investor profile and statement of understanding for the water sewer fund to extend the parameters for maturities up to 5 years in those investments. I plan to leave it at 3 years for the general fund because the general fund seems to have a greater need for spending overall, and they are responsible for all the operational needs of the village. I guess I can do all these at once, right? Yes. Okay, thank you. Next is the financial statements for September 30th, 2023. So you have before you those financial statements. Those for the 5 months ended in our fiscal year, so we're about 42% through our fiscal year. You'll see that on page 2 of the flash report, we have assets of $333,345,000. We have liabilities of $409,000, and our equity is $2,936,000. So revenue for the 5 months is $2,708,000. Our expenses are $3,329,000, and so you see a net loss of $622,000 compared to this point last year, which is $456,000. So we do a quick comparison between the year to year by pulling out some of the extraordinary expenses that happened just to try to find out what's happening with ordinary income and loss. Once we do that, you'll see that our net income of, hold on one second, I need to get to that page. Excuse me. I usually have all this out, but I neglected to this time. Okay, you see we have regular income, or net income from regular operations of $462,000 compared to this point last year of $795,000. So I've mentioned this before, our revenues are actually relatively similar from year to year. We do have a few key ordinary expense categories that are running higher than last year. So it's engineering services, legal, police services, and our payroll is up this year as well over last year. So that's causing a big part of the difference. Flipping to page 10 and 11, we just have a budget to actual report. Our revenues are trending on budget. They're 56%. They're actually a little bit over budget, but they're as expected at this point in the year. Our expenses are 51% actual above it, actual to budget. And once again, we have some categories that will end up over budget, the ones I just mentioned, well, especially computer consulting, legal, and other consultant. Those will definitely end up over budget for the year. Just some things that happened that we didn't quite plan for. That's all I have on the general fund. Before I move on, I see if there's any questions on the general fund. Okay, moving to the MFT fund, I would like to mention a little housekeeping message. We are finally at the end of an MFT document review. They're going over 5 projects going back to 2009, so it's been quite a challenge to dig up paperwork that's been needed. Jeff from HR Green has been instrumental in getting some of this done for us in terms of paperwork that was not completed by prior engineers. They've been very helpful, and they weren't the engineer on the older projects, so they've stepped right up there. There's no way I could have done a lot of this paperwork on our own. It was hard enough to find some of the documentation, so I'm very thankful to them to get us through that review. There's no activity in the MFT fund this year. We have net current assets of $280,000. We will build that for another year at least before we spend money from that fund. Okay, page 16 is the water sewer fund. We have net current assets in there of $1,783,000. We did have one unusual expense this month, and that was $48,000 for work done with new feeders and ground boxes. That amount was budgeted, it was approved, and it actually came in under budget. And Village Administrator Peterson and I have been working on a RFP to send out to get a water study underway for that fund as well. So that's all I have on there. I can discuss the warrants real quick before I get to the tax levy, which I'm trying to stay in the order of the agenda. Oh, the warrants are next too as well. Okay. So warrant A, we do have a few unusual expenses to mention. There's one for Cuba Township for $3,314.72, and that's to replace a culvert on Vista Lane. We have the bill for insurance this month, and this is not the health insurance, but the village insurance. IMO Risk Management Association for $17,781.68.
What does that insurance cover again?
So it's property, it's liability, it's workman's comp.
So if there's a tornado and the village hall is damaged or something? Okay.
Correct. And in fact, we've filed 2 claims this year, and to the tune of $10,000.
Now-
So we've almost paid the premiums.
Is that part of D&O insurance, Jim, for all of us?
That is a that's a subpart, but it's generally liability of third parties, third-party claims, I think. And
The bonding is in there as well for all the village officials. The bond?
Yes, bond, and I think workman's comp, too.
Workman's comp is in there as well.
So natural disasters, my doing something stupid, and the bonding.
And cyber insurance is in there.
Okay. Oh, cyber insurance. Well, that goes to the earlier conversation.
Correct.
Great. Thank you.
Absolutely. And then, okay, back to Minuteman Press. We did have 3 invoices, and this is related to the postcards announcing the change in the waste hauler. And those amounts, the 3 came to $6,294.07. And then you'll see the first invoice there for Williams Associates Architects, and that's for $3,948.45, and that was the work done towards the Village Hall remodeling concept. And then finally, in the Water Sewer Fund, it's their portion of the insurance, and that's $12,643. So just a quick mention, the insurance and general fund did go down this year, the coverage amount. It did go up in the Water Sewer Fund, and that's really because we updated the values, the replacement values for not only the water tower, but the plant, just sort of based on current information out there, coming from IML and coming from our Fox River Grove, we were probably underinsured for the water tower and for the water plant. So I feel that's adequate at this point. And then lastly, in warrant B, there was just one invoice from IMRF to mention, $11,002.91, and that was an extra payment related to Karen Darling's retirement. And that is all I have for that, and I believe, let me see, how are we approving these? Do I keep going, or?
Peggy, why don't we do 8A through D first, get that done, and then we can do the levy next, okay?
Thank you.
Does that work for you?
Absolutely.
Chair would therefore like a motion to approve in block agenda items 8A, direct the village treasurer to sign an updated investor profile and statement of understanding for the general fund with a maximum maturity parameter for new investments of 3 years, and for the water sewer fund, a maximum maturity parameter of 5 years. B, approve the financial statements as of September 30, 2023. C, pay bills in the amount of $136,131.69 as listed on the accounts payable warrant A dated November 7, 2023. And D, Pay bills in the amount of $155,826.30 as listed on the accounts payable warrant B dated November 7, 2023. May I have a motion to approve in block?
So moved.
By Trustee Hayes, thank you. May I please have a second?
Second.
By Trustee Perkins, thank you both. And I will ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Trustee Burke.
Yes.
Trustee Hayes.
Yes.
Trustee Perkins.
Yes.
Trustee Schaller.
Yes.
Trustee Schalmoser.
Yes.
Trustee Van Ryn.
Yes.
President Richardson.
Yes, thank you. Agenda item 8E, tax levy. Chair yields to the treasurer.
Okay, thank you. So this is a resolution to basically let the public know what we're intending to do next month and pass the tax levy ordinance. So the resolution, we are saying we're intending to keep the same levy of $823,000 for next year. That's a 0% increase over the last 2 years. So it'll be a third year in a row we have kept the levy flat. While we have a significant spend down of fund balance this year, we still expect to have a healthy fund balance at the end of this year. So staff feels there's no need to raise the levy any higher than it is for next year.
I know all of you are exhausted of hearing this, but I speak to the folks who might someday watch this online. This is a very deliberate process. It starts from a philosophical value that this board established long ago. We do not hold more of the residents' hard-earned money than is absolutely prudent and necessary. And when circumstances are such that we have received more funds than are necessary to safeguard a proper rainy day fund, we do an effective de facto tax refund by typically accelerating road work, drainage and flood control, those kinds of things that benefit the entire community. And so it's a great way to dial up and dial down based on economic conditions. But it's really important to remind the public that it starts from a policy perspective that says we seek to hold no more of our residents' hard-earned money than is necessary for prudence, and that is 70% of an annual operating budget. Is that correct?
Correct.
I'm very comfortable that we can dial it up and dial it down as circumstances in the economy recommend. We've done a very good job, and I commend the staff, led by our treasurer on these matters. They've really done a splendid job on this, and we're able to do this. But at its core, it reflects a simple belief, and I've gotten to know all of you, and I think I know your politics as well as you all know mine. We start from the notion that it's not our money. It's not our money. The notion that it's the village's money is absurd. It's the taxpayers' money. We hold a little bit to do the things that the community needs, but it's not our money, and that's why we refund it on a de facto basis like this whenever we can, and it's why we have a priority of trying to hold that levy to 0% increase at a time when very few other parts of government are able to do that. So I'm very proud of it. I'm sorry to impose it all on you again. I'm really speaking to residents who might watch this in the future. So thank you, Mrs. Hirschley. Do you have anything else you'd like to add at this point?
No, I'm done.
Okay. Chair would therefore, under agenda item 8E, like a motion to adopt resolution number 2023-R-16, a resolution for a 0% increase in the village tax levy of $823,000. May I have that motion, please? By Trustee Schaller. Good for you, John. And may I have a second?
Second.
By Trustee Van Ryn. Okay, clerk will please call the roll.
Trustee Burke.
Yes.
Trustee Hayes.
Yes.
Trustee Perkins.
Yes.
Trustee Schaller.
Definitely yes.
Trustee Schalmoser.
Yes.
Trustee Van Ryn.
Yes.
President Richardson.
Yes, thank you. Agenda item 9, the administrator's report. Chair yields to the administrator.
Thank you, President Richardson. I have a couple items for you this evening, just some FYIs. In October, I had the pleasure of attending the ILCMA Leadership Institute for newly appointed managers and administrators. The topics included community relations, staff relations, elected board relations, ethics, and work-life balance. The second item I have is I will be having on the agenda next month the proposal to attend the ILCMA Winter Conference, February 7th through the 9th in Normal, Illinois. And then another item that will be on the agenda for next month, just an FYI, is the 2024 schedule of meetings. And that's all I have this evening.
Questions for the administrator? We encourage you to attend conferences with your peers. We think the networking is very valuable. It makes Lake Barrington more effective for you to be able to call on your peers for advice and counsel, benchmarking best practices. Please know that you have our continued support for your attendance on those matters, both at the state level, and if you want to go to some of the national ones, we're certainly willing to look at that as well. I'm always interested in conferences where they have a segment on work-life balance. I vote for it, I've just never been able to do it. When I became mayor, I was going to Washington every week for 2 or 3 days, and Mr. Bateman and I spoke at 6 in the morning as I was pulling out of the Starbucks in Fox River Grove to go to O'Hare. You know, I think everybody up here knows what a 60 or 70-hour work week looks like. So I admire the notion of work-life balance. I've just never experienced it. So I might want to go and audit one of those classes.
Okay.
Okay, agenda item 10, the clerk's report. No report. Thank you. Agenda item 11, reports of standing committees. A, branding and comms. Trustee Van Ryn.
In the interest of time, I'll keep this short. Thank you, President Richardson. Just want to let the group know that our LinkedIn followers continue to grow. We're up over 150 now, 154. So I think that's a tribute to having a lot of great information to share there, so thank you.
I wonder if all these business owners have connected with us on LinkedIn. When you visit with them about advertising, maybe our price of admission is they've got to agree to connect with us on LinkedIn. 11B, Economic Development, Trustee Burke.
Just to jog everyone's memory, last month I had no report and said I would have a whopper of a report this month, so I just encourage everyone to sit back, relax.
Lay it on us, baby.
No, in the interest of time, I don't have that much, but I have a few key things. One is always first thanking Peggy for her marvelous work that she does to track our retail sales tax revenue and do her analysis on that. The most recent one that she provided, which is for year ending end of July 2023, has some really good news. It shows overall that our local businesses year over year up about $32,000 in retail sales tax. So that's really good. That's strong. I think even more important when you look at the detail, and Peggy does a great job of pointing this out, is we continue to create nice diversity of businesses in the park. And, you know, depending on economic environments, seasonal environment, and that diversity is really helping us because maybe gas prices are soft and so that affects, you know, one of our retailers, but it seems like something else always steps up and fills that void. But all in all, it's continuing to grow, and that's what we wanted to do. So it's not only have we weathered the COVID storm, but we seem to really be really getting our feet under us and continuing to build on a nice base. So thanks again, Peggy, for the really nice work that you do there, and it's great to be able to reassure people that our efforts to grow business and retail is working. And hey, novel idea, Kevin, that's one of the ways that you keep pressure off of taxes. So the more we can do that, the better. I mentioned earlier when Nicole was presenting about introducing her to Suzanne Core. If you recall, we approved a contract with the Barrington Area Chamber to have them incorporate our retail businesses and keep them apprised and more actively managed with them. And early read on that is what we're getting really nice value from that. She's very active. She keeps Sharon and I very much in the loop. She's constantly organizing Zoom calls with our local businesses. She was really instrumental in the Pepper Park Fest organizing. And these are some things, if you recall, that we were kind of taxed to do in the past, whether that was our clerk or our administrator, where our businesses were saying, can you help us put this stuff together? And we weren't really staffed in a way to do that, and that was quite a burden. Suzanne stepping into those roles really makes a difference for us, and she's very impressive and very motivated, enthusiastic about that. And she sent me a note saying that the retailers were really thrilled with the outcome of Pepper Park Fest, and said they really got a lot of business out of that. So these things work, so these organizing. So with that, that's going to be followed up with the Cocoa Crawl in February that Suzanne is helping them organize, and not sort of unlike the wine thing they do down in Barrington, this will be you get a nice mug and then you carry it from place to place and then you get your cocoa. Right, with Bailey's maybe, if we'll see. Since the Barrington area is chambers, we can work that out. But
They're not-for-profit.
Because they're non-for-profit.
They can get a not-for-profit.
Right. Sent that information since Vintage Rugs will be open then, that Nicole will be joining that. So she's going to, that will be her first event with the group. So I just wanted people to know that I think that a very modest investment we've made in the Barrington Area Council continues to pay dividends, and we'll keep you apprised of that. And maybe we'll get Suzanne in here to just talk a little bit more about that, because I think people would like to hear from her. And lastly, just a little bit of an update. We've talked on and off a number of times in this group about activity over at North Point Parkway with our friends at Canlin and Rexplex, and the public road work that we're looking at, and other things. We had told that Canlin was interested in potentially reaching out and purchasing the added empty lots up there, and to potentially expand their operation. And unfortunately, one of the things that we've learned in this process is that we've run into a little bit of a roadblock where those two empty lots have turned out from the construction that was done on the other two big buildings that they're holding a lot of fill dirt. And in piling that fill dirt up, it's actually made it almost cost prohibitive for a new buyer to go in there and have to level those lots because there's actually so much fill dirt there. So we've had several people who have approached to buy the lot, and then when they do their due diligence, they find out it becomes cost prohibitive. So I only bring that up to you because it represents a little bit of a unique challenge for us. In other words, we're going to have to put our heads together to figure out. We always kind of believe one day there would be something up there that would either be an added amenity for the village or a retail sales tax generator for the village, and right now, we have some challenges. So we met prior to this today to just kind of talk through what some of those options are, because we really have potential business partners asking us, like, is there anything we can do? And the answer is, well, we're not sure. The price tag's pretty big to try to level those lots and deal with the wetland mitigation and all that. So just thought I'd put it out there because we may be coming back to talk more about it. We were excited and hopeful that Canlin was taking that over and that was going to take care of itself, but because of this unforeseen obstacle, that's not the case. So we're kind of back to square one. Although Canlin assures me that we're still pursuing the public of the village of taking ownership for the infrastructure on North Point Parkway. So they're going to put their heads back together, and we're going to go after that again. So stay tuned.
I haven't put the file away.
Don't put the file away. We're going to get to it. I promise you we're going to get to it. And that's my report. Questions?
Questions for Trustee Burke?
No, just a comment on various recognition of Suzanne Crowe in the Barrington Chamber. I think since we joined, we've had 3 ribbon cuttings in the village for new businesses that have started out, and they just had their big taste over at the Onion Pub. So obviously our involvement with the Chamber is beneficial all the way around and much appreciated.
Absolutely. Thanks, John.
Further questions for Trustee Burke? Okay. 11C, just 2 items to report, actually 3. I think I meant to mention this earlier under President's remarks, it looks like our transition from waste and recycling vendors has gone well. Any big, all right, you're leaving, you might as well be blunt. Give it to me straight between the eyes, Melissa.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Just with anything, there's a lot of growing pains, you know what I mean? And we're just grateful that the residents are patient with us, you know what I mean? As we're just kind of figuring out the kinks and the nuances and ironing out kind of everything and what's going on between the transition with waste management and LRS.
Can you give some specifics?
We've been receiving phone calls of, residents still have not been receiving their trash or recycle receptacles. And, they've been calling since mid-October.
And how does the vendor respond to that?
The vendor has been responding that the residents will have them in a few days. There was one resident that Melissa had dealt with and I was dealing with that hadn't had a trash or recycling truck receptacle in about 12 days. They asked me today if they could come here and throw their garbage away here. I said absolutely. They did end up getting their receptacles this afternoon.
Have we measured how many residents are still without these things?
We'd have to go through the list. They did send us a list at the end of the day of the ones that we had been sending them that now all have receptacles. I do have a Zoom call set up with Steve Ramos on Thursday at 9 a.m. or 9:30.
Okay. I mean, we made a considerable effort to communicate the process to people, a considerable effort, and I thought, I hadn't heard from, there was a lot of, how many complaints would you say have we gotten?
Daily, between 5 to 10.
Total?
50, 60.
Okay. And any sense of those people receiving, what's the nature of the complaints? Are they the same or do they vary?
Mostly the same, that either they have not received their trash or recycling, that the LRS skipped over their house, and we've just been telling them to please be patient, you know what I mean, with us regarding that, as we just kind of convey that the LRS is going to be making another pass around their subdivision. And the other is, and I know Sharon and I are going to be working on it, Waste Management still has not picked up some of the receptacles from other residences. So we told the residents, if you haven't received, or pardon me, if your receptacles, old Waste Management receptacles have not been picked up by Thursday, please call us. Sharon and I will compile a list and we'll send it to Waste Management next week.
And do we have a list for LRS, people who have yet to receive their new ones?
We've been compiling that as well.
And what is our timeline for insisting they fulfill their contractual obligations on this?
I will be talking with both Waste Management and LRS on withholding payment for not having any of this. I will be bringing that up with LRS on Thursday morning when I have my Zoom call with them.
Okay.
And
that's a lot of houses. I mean, that's a lot of residents for a community this size. I think it's fair to say that performance is not an option. It's not an optional choice. It's a requirement under contract. And I think we're all going to become very impatient and unhappy if this isn't fixed and fixed within a week. One more garbage day, people don't get garbage collection. This is going to become intolerable. So you need to be...
I will let them know that.
You need to go full Kevin on this.
I will do that.
Okay.
What I was going to say was, I was happy at least that the residents are complaining to us and not going to the elected officials and not coming to the board meeting. I wasn't sure if anyone was going to come tonight or not. I wasn't sure. But, so I do feel that the way it is being handled in-house, the residents are happy with, because you guys aren't getting the calls.
No, that's, I guess, how I got fooled, or I had a false sense of security.
That's probably true. I was going to say, your sense was that it was going well because he wasn't hearing anything about it, but a comment, interesting, because I had noticed, and Sharon, you and I were talking earlier, that there were some random, like, waste management bins in my neighborhood, and I couldn't quite figure out people like, some that just got randomly skipped or whatnot. So I started thinking about that, and so I reached out to both of those neighbors, I happen to know them, and just say, why are your bins still out there? And they said, I don't know, the Waste Management just never came. I said, well, do you have your new bins? And they said, yeah, we have our new bins, but our old bins are just sitting there. But both of them said they had already been in touch with either you or you, and they said that they were very happy with the response from the village. They were very happy that the village, got on it right away and got feedback to both. And I think, it might have been you, Melissa, one of my neighbors, I think Waste Management confirmed they were picking those up by Monday, maybe, did you tell them?
Initially, I think it was supposed to be last Friday, if I wasn't mistaken, Sharon, the 3rd, and then they extended it till tomorrow, the 8th, so we're telling residents to please call us on the 9th.
Okay, that's what I've just been telling them. Leave them out there, they're coming. If they don't come, call us back. But I guess my point is, while it maybe hasn't been ideal, it's not in our direct control, but the things that we can control, which is taking these calls, assuring people we're working on it, being pleasant about it, being sympathetic about it, the feedback is positive. So I just wanted to say that from the village's perspective.
Yeah, I'm delighted that you had the good sense to proactively say, yes, drop your stuff off here.
Yes, I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, we have the bins if they need to do it because of the situation, absolutely.
Okay.
I have a comment because I watched the whole thing because I was very interested over at LBS. But first of all, the communication pieces were great. They really were. I got, I think, 3 of them that at least my wife gave to me. Good reminders. But what I noticed there in LBS, and I live there, a lot of residents aren't there all year round, and I witnessed a lot of blue bins delivered, sat on the driveways for days. Well, as you recall, the card said, put your green ones out, and we're going to just leave them out there, we're going to pick up, and then we'll drop off the blue. Well, I think some of the calls were related to that. Maybe they didn't get the card, they were out of town. So I, don't think it was a total failure. Actually, I think the other community was a good thing. And yeah, I'm glad to hear that we're cleaning up the small stuff. But that was an observation I witnessed all over LBS, that there was a lot of people that weren't home when the blue bins got delivered, so therefore we were the green ones. So that may be part of it.
Why would, I bet they took their bins back in. They took them in and then they're like, oh, we're supposed to take them out. And in the meantime, they came and picked them up. That's what I'm thinking, because that's what happened at my house, except I took it right back out. Dave pulled them back, and I took them right back out the same day.
Who's in charge of the trash over at that house?
Oh my gosh, who knows, whoever. We're so on top of it. But seriously, I think sometimes, I'm wondering if, because I don't know, why would Waste Management say, let's mess with them and not pick theirs up? You know what I'm saying? Why would they not pick it up if it was out there? You know what I'm saying? So I'm guessing, because I'll tell you, they were Johnny on the spot in our neighborhood. They were, boom, exactly when they said they
Yeah,
would.
I saw LRS's truck at 8 o'clock this morning and then again at 5 o'clock coming up here, making a second pass-through.
Thanks for taking the calls.
Yeah, thank you, Melissa, that's very useful. I think everyone on this board would like to get a daily update on this issue and its status. I'd like a summary of all the calls and the nature of the calls, not individual names, but 32 calls said this, and I just want to get a sense of how deep this goes. And maybe we can do a piece in the newsletter in December that kind of does a recap on this and thanks the village residents for their patience on this matter. I expect hiccups. I do expect hiccups.
I would agree. I was just going to say, Kevin, I think anything of this magnitude, regardless of how much communication, and you and I have had our chuckles about that, because I've answered questions to my neighbors when I had to bite my tongue and say, so you didn't get one of the 6 mailers that we sent out, But I do agree, Susie, that there's people are like, oh yeah, I dragged them in, I put them out, and they didn't realize they missed it. And there's a lot of reasons why, but anything of this magnitude, you're just going to have hiccups. So I would still say that the real proof of the pudding is not that you can ever not have hiccups, but it's how do we collectively, both the village and the vendors, assure that we put our best foot forward when it comes to resolving issues, right? And I know that we have as a village, so I'm very pleased and proud of that, but I would say that I would scratch my head a little bit with LRS that says, hey, how hard is it when I give you a list of names to just get out there and deliver? Like, why is that hard? And why does it keep not happening? That, to me, of everything. Waste management I kind of get, because I think they're just in the collection, and it's like I drive through my neighborhood, out of 50 homes, there's one can there, and I can't imagine why that's not really high on their list of things that they have to do today, right? But if you're LRS and you're the new person in town and there is no pickup unless those bins are delivered, I can't understand why it's not drop everything I'm doing and get it done. And I think that's the message that needs to be conveyed to them, that they're putting us in a difficult position because we're doing everything we can and they're not playing ball. And that's a bad start. It's not that they missed it. It's that they're not fixing it right now.
In fact,
that's going
invite Steve Ramos to come to the board meeting in December and visit with us on this issue.
I will.
I think it would be well advised if he came prepared to offer an apology to the residents who have been inconvenienced. And if you have the names of those people and we can match their addresses, I can suggest to him that he writes a letter to each of them. I've been married 35 years. I'm good at saying I'm sorry, I was wrong. I went the whole meeting without a smart aleck remark, Peggy. Almost made it to the end.
I think the biggest frustration that we have here, though, is LRS has been great, and really responsive to me and Sharon when we, say, hey, this was missed, or things like that. And understandably so, as I said, growing pains, but they'll say, the resident will get their cart, or we'll replace this within 5 business days. Well, sometimes 5 business days just isn't going to cut it, you know what I mean, for these residents. So we have repeat people that call in every day saying, I just called you yesterday, what's going on? And my hands are kind of tied here at this point. I could be as sympathetic as I can and as possible as I can be, but at the end of the day, it is them, you know what I mean? And again, trying to be as understanding and sympathetic as possible here.
I appreciate your candor. You're in that rarefied space where I am. You're leaving and so am I.
And I would say this if I was staying, though, too. I would say this if I was staying, though, as well. You know what I mean? I just think, open and honest.
You would, Mel.
Mel, here we are with the nicknames now. Okay, Kev.
My kids call me Kevs with an S.
I'm a positive.
Yeah. No, look, LRS was on the spot with a lot of things. We worked with them on the web postings. Therese spent a lot of time on this with us. Andy, Chris Burke edited on this. Lynn Richardson edited on this. It was really a group effort. Sharon spent a lot of time. So I think we did a good job. And Andy, I think your point is spot on. It's not that the error occurs. That happens in life and in business. It's the need to quickly react and address in a remedial fashion what's wrong. So we can consider that an amendment to the clerk's report.
Noted.
The other 2 things on extra, I did 2 speaking things. I spoke to the Republican Mayors Association on actually the topic we were talking to Chalmers Street about, which is data in use at the edge device security. And I've learned a lot about this. And then I did the same thing in the UK, where I spoke with their equivalent staff from the U.S. Conference of Mayors, their equivalent, the Local Government Association, and their heads of IT and cybersecurity. I think they actually have a more robust program for their members than we do, so I'll be sharing that with the National League of Cities and the U.S. Conference of Mayors. One thing is I had lunch with the village, Sharon's counterpart, the city manager for Gloucester, England. And they were the victims, and there are about 25,000 people, they were the victims of a state-sponsored data breach. And the story is just horrible. And I heard him speak at their LGA conference in July in Bournemouth, and he spoke with basically the 2 people on the panel from the government were from the Cabinet Office and the National Center for Cybersecurity, the equivalents in the U.S. to the Department of Homeland Security and the Cybersecurity Industrial Security Agency here in the U.S. They said small towns are particular targets from foreign governments. Wow. I operated under a very flawed assumption that because we were small, nobody was interested. and what I learned is the reason we're interesting is to do the deep learning that generative AI requires. They want every scrap of data. The whole reason they pushed TikTok on the world was to get people to voluntarily give their data. Now that that's being addressed more, at least at the enterprise level of government and business, they're looking at other ways that are not always cricket. And so I was sobered by the fact that they actually are looking at small towns. So why do they want our data? Because the deep learning that's driving the generative AI is being focused on two things: manipulating public opinion in Western countries and defense planning. And the more questions I asked this, the more scared I got, and I've done this with people in Washington, in the federal government. The other scary part is this is the only issue in Washington where Republicans and Democrats set aside their bitter differences on everything else, which tells me the intelligence must be terrible. I'm on camera, so I'm not saying anything that's classified. I'm learning a lot about this from the company that Teresa and she works for, and I do a lot of work for. So I did those two speaking engagements, and I have found that the voters, and I actually commissioned some polling data with a national polling organization to test this with voter opinion about cities. And maybe in December, I'll ruin everybody's Christmas by telling you that the voters are scared and they're holding us accountable. In a question I asked about who would you hold accountable for a breach in your town of your data, the mayor and the city council, 78% of the people hold us primarily responsible. So when we talk about all this stuff and why it's important and why the insurance for cyber is important and so forth, it's because we live in a very daunting and threatening world. So, and we'll talk a little bit about that under other business when we're not going to take any decisions, but we're going to discuss the item that we deferred during committee of the whole. Okay, 11D, Finance, HR, and Administration, Trustee Hayes.
Well, no, again, Teresa, I thought fantastic job on the mailers. I also want to thank Peggy and Sharon and the whole team here, because a lot of work went in to the simple thing of just updating job descriptions for the treasurer and the accountant. Likewise, the memo that Peggy just read about the finances, there's a whole risk analysis that went with it. So don't think it was just some simple thing. We're not going to raise taxes. There was a lot of thought that went into that. So know that. And the conclusion is we're in a great financial shape to allow us to do it. Now that we're beyond all of that, and that was a lot of work, we're going to be setting forth to put out for your replacement. And it won't be temporal, but a permanent village clerk replacement, likewise the accountant. And then to follow right after that, Peggy's will get those announcements out to place those. It's time-based. It's not going to be based to rush. We want to get the right person in here. With the accounting firm, we'll have a chance to transition, so that won't be an issue. Correspondingly, we are going to move first on the village clerk, because that's the one we really need to get right out of the gate. Now that we're beyond that, a lot of things also changed this year, and it's been on the docket to do, but certain priorities was the employee manual for the village. So a lot of work was started in the summer. Becky did the work with Jim Bateman, and then corresponding Sharon and Peggy and others all opined on it. And Jim, I don't know if you can be shared, but what's going to happen here is in 2024, there's some legal changes that occurred this year with the state no law related to paid time off that need to be addressed, and then all the updates related to the changes that occurred because all the actions this year need to be reflected in it. So this month, we're finalizing that, and well before next month's meeting, you'll have a draft copy with a summary of the marked up employee manual, so you can see the changes. We'll give you maybe a 1.5 pager, so you don't have to read the 67 pages it is today. But you can go look wherever you'd like to understand, and the intent is in December's meeting, we would vote on those changes so they're enacted before we enter fiscal year or calendar year in January. So that's the next step for the committee, and then once that's done, then I can feel like it can kind of relax a little bit, because this has been one hell of a year working all these issues. So, and then also the insurance. Thank you for that's good. Thank you. we talked about looking at the insurance coverage for the village employees and have opted to go out and shop, not to make it, to look for what's out on the market to update that. So when do you expect that those will come back?
I touched him up on the 31st. He said we're top of the list, and I'm surprised I haven't heard from him yet, so I'll send him an email tomorrow.
Yeah, so we'll be able to discuss that in December, but the intent is to provide good coverage for the employees and also look at the cost components and reflect the change in the staff this year. So, because we had some special programs related to the past, and it was time to relook that. I don't have anything else. That's all I have for this evening. Thank you.
Questions for Trustee Hayes? Okay, we can move to 11E, Roads and Infrastructure. Trustee Schalmoser.
Thank you, President Richardson. Pretty slow. We had a call back in August about reviewing our process for the roads. Want to get a more automated process in place. Jeff from HR Green was going to help us. We got a quote from that, and it was very expensive, too cost prohibitive. As Dwight D. Eisenhower used to say, we just can't afford that, and it's too expensive. So we're going to do it the old-fashioned way. We're going to drive the streets and see what holes look like and fix them up, and it'll be just fine. A little bit more labor-intensive, but I look forward to driving around with Sharon and looking at all our streets. So we're going to be doing that later this year. So that's where we are.
And years ago, I did that with Karen, and then Andy did that religiously. It's kind of enjoyable if the weather has cooperated and not dumped a mountain of snow on the roads, to drive the neighborhoods in December because you see all the Christmas lights and see how people have decorated their houses. And it's a long way to spend an afternoon, but it's really very, very useful for staying in touch with every neighborhood in the community. Anything further? Questions for Trustee Schalmoser? If not, Lieutenant Kirk, you want to come up to the podium while I recognize Trustee Schaller for the public safety report. John?
Thank you, President Richardson. I was going to ask if Lieutenant Kirk was in attendance, and obviously he is, so as he comes to the podium, I guess I have a question for him. I think Sharon and I both get the weekly arrest report from Lake County, and I've noticed, obviously, since the new law went into effect of no bail, that many of the people that have appeared before a court have been released without bail. So I guess my question, in addition to activity in Lake Barrington from Lieutenant Kirk, is, has the department experienced any repercussions from any of these individuals being back on the street in a short period of time?
Good evening. I really don't have that data available. I'm not keeping track of that. Offhand, I'm not aware of any instances in Lake County where that's been an issue.
Very good. Okay, thank you. So what else is going on? What can you report to us?
Since we last spoke last month, the only incident note was that serious domestic battery that we had in Lake Barrington Shores that we sent notice on. It was an interesting investigation. We didn't have the suspect identified initially. We had an investigator out there, an evidence technician, and probably about 4 deputies. And then by the end of the afternoon, we had warrants in place for the suspect. And I checked before this meeting, he's still in custody. So it was a pretty good outcome for a pretty serious incident.
Yeah, well, thank you very, very kindly. I've involved a resident and a relative, I understand, but the last I heard he was still, hadn't been apprehended, so I'm glad to hear that he has been, in fact, apprehended.
Yes, sir.
So thank you very, very kindly, and all the very, very best to the entire Lake County Sheriff's Department as we get into the holidays, Thanksgiving and Christmas. I know they have special patrols out. The one thing that I have noted is that an increased amount of holiday scams that are going on where people are getting phone calls or they're buying things, so it's just another alert for our residents to be aware that this is a highly susceptible time of year for people to play on other people with various scams. And So just an alert.
Yeah, that along, and we also have the issue where a lot of packages are dropped on doorsteps, and sometimes people try to grab those packages before you do. So if you know that you're going to have a package delivered and you're not home, maybe ask your neighbor to collect it for you so it doesn't sit up on your porch and it's not susceptible to being taken.
Very good. Well, thank you very kindly, Lieutenant.
Thank you. Anybody have anything else?
Questions for Lieutenant Kirk? Okay.
Thank you.
As far as the Barrington Countryside Fire Protection District, I do want to extend our gratitude to them. They did bring an engine and two of the people to our barnstorm, and many of the young individuals had an opportunity to climb into the fire truck, and they were very, very helpful and receptive and really welcome at the barnstorm. And I also want to thank Chief Maltese for obviously offering his cooperation for our Thanksgiving effort that will conclude December 16th at the Kelsey Roadhouse. And just an interesting note, the Wakanda Fire Department, we talk about pensions and what we don't have, necessarily having our own fire department or police department. The Wakanda Fire Department pension fund is at $43 million. And that's just the local fire department. So just take that into account. Like obviously, the people in the Wakanda Fire District are helping fund that, but that's a major cost of doing business these days with anyone. Other than that, thank you very kindly.
Is there anything further? We weren't sure if that...
No, that's it.
Okay. I wanted to make sure the internet didn't freeze and prevent you from finishing.
I didn't get frozen.
Okay. Thank you very much. Are there questions for Trustee Schaller? If not, 11G, Open Space and Special Events, Trustee Perkins.
I have no report this evening, thank you.
Okey-doke.
Can I add something?
Oh, I'm sorry, yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So November 11th is Veterans Day. So on November 11th at 11 o'clock at Lake Barrington Shores, the veterans of Lake Barrington Shores are hosting the Veterans Day events there at the lodge. The speaker is General, drawing a blank here, Jason Osberg. He's going to come. He will have very relevant information. So it'll be very interesting to hear what his view is of what's going on in the world, because he's linked in with Israeli Home Front Command, and he's very familiar with what's going on in Ukraine because of his relationship with the Polish military as well. So I'm sure he'll have some pretty interesting talk, but it'll be at 11 a.m. Over at Lake Barrington Shores on the 11th. Thank you.
Thanks for reminding. I'm in Dallas. My nephew's getting married. Otherwise, I would be there. Questions for Trustee Perkins or Trustee Hayes based on his comments? If not, agenda item 12, there is no old business, and we've taken care of 13A. Chair would like the courtesy of a brief recess before we continue. So I'm going to ask that the board stand in recess for the next 5 minutes, and then we'll continue and conclude. There are no resolutions. Upon further reflection, so that the board can have adequate time, I will be working on agenda item 4.4, the statement on violence and terror, with all of you individually, one-on-one, over the next several weeks, and then we will make an agenda item and consider it and have a conversation, committee of the whole, in December. Okay? Okay. Good? Okay. That means, agenda item 15, no new business. Agenda item 16, second opportunity for the public to address the village board. There is no one here seeking recognition. There is no need for a closed session. There are no other business. Chair would like a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
By Trustee Hayes, may I please have a second? Second. Trustee Van Ryan, thank you both. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.